Welcome back from that short break. In case you're just joining us, this is the News International edition, and we're coming to you live from our Vision Group headquarters here in Kampala, Uganda. I'm Emma Aquero. Now, smoke was seen billowing and gunshots rang out during renewed clashes in South Lebanon's Palestinian refugee camp. The clashes between members of the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas secular Fatah movement and Islamists have forced dozens of frightened residents to flee their homes in the camp. Automatic weapons and anti-tank fire shook South Lebanon's Palestinian refugee camp on Monday after fighting killed 6 people over the weekend, the reporter reported. The clashes between members of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas' secular Fatah movement and Islamists have forced dozens of frightened residents to flee their homes in the camp, which has gained notoriety as a refuge for extremists and fugitives. Limited skirmishes erupted again on Sunday night, escalating into heavy clashes with gunfire and shelling on Monday, said the reporter in the southern city of Sidon, where the camp is located. Things are supposed to go back to normal soon, an official involved in the ceasefires told, asking for anonymity because of the sensitivity of the matter. The official added that they were working on preventing further escalation. Palestinian functions said they had reached a ceasefire on Sunday, but the truce did not hold. On Monday morning, Lebanon's official news agency reported that increased clashes using heavy weaponry were exchanged of gunfire concentrated in the Al Tarek neighborhood, a stronghold for Islamist extremists. Dozens of residents, mostly women and children, fled the camp carrying light luggage, while others took refuge in a nearby mosque. Fighting began overnight on Saturday, killing an Islamist and injuring 6 others, a Palestinian sources told reporters, speaking on condition of anonymity for security reasons. The next day, a Fatah military leader and 4 of his colleagues were killed during a heinous operation. Shells also fell outside the walls of the camp over the past 2 days. A nearby hospital evacuated patients and shops in Sudan closed, fearing further escalation. Fighting between rival groups in common and Al-Wahli, which is home to more than 54,000 registered Palestinian refugees who have been joined in recent years by thousands of Palestinians fleeing the war in Syria. By long-standing convention, the Lebanese army does not enter Palestinian refugee camps in the country, leaving the functions themselves to handle security. Now, thousands of mourners attended the first funeral ceremonies following a suicide blast that killed at least 44 people at the Islamist party's political gathering ahead of elections due later this year. The funeral was held for victims, including 2 young cousins aged 16 and 17. The militant assaults have been focused in regions abutting Afghanistan, and Islamabad alleges some are being planned on Afghan soil, a charge Kabul vehemently denies.
Police on Monday combed through the bloody wreckage of a suicide blast that killed at least 47 people at an Islamist party's political gathering ahead of elections due later this year. Around 400 members of the Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam F JUIF party, a key government coalition partner led by a firebrand cleric, were waiting for speeches to begin when a bomber detonated a vest packed with explosives and ball bearings near the front stage. The attack occurred in the town of Kar in the northwestern Bajau district, just 45 kilometers from the Afghan border, in an area where militancy has been rising since the Taliban took control of Kabul in 2021. Thousands of mourners attended the first funeral ceremonies, including for 2 young cousins aged 16 and 17.
मेरा नाम मुमताज़ है मैं स्टेज के बिल्कुल करीब था जब मौलाना
I was very close to the stage. When Maulana Abdul Rashid arrived, we stood up to welcome him. As we were standing, a powerful blast occurred, and then I don't know what happened next. I got my consciousness back and headed towards the road. I was soaked in blood, and there was an echo in my ears.
बाकी कान भी बंद थी ये दोनों हमारे ख़ानदान में इंतहाई संजीदा और जिस्म।
These two cousins that were killed were very serious and down to earth individuals in our family. In our neighborhood, people say we never saw them picking on anyone. This is a great injustice on our land of Bajrao.
के साथ इस धरती के साथ जुल्म हुआ है।
JUIF's leader, Cleric Fawzil Rahman, started political life as a firebrand Islamist hardliner, and while his party continues to advocate for socially conservative policies, he has more recently forged alliances with secular rivals. He has operated in the past as a facilitator for talks between the government and Tariq-e-Taliban Pakistan, TTP, a rival of the jihadist Islamic State group. The blast was too powerful. The flames coming out were very high, so I couldn't see anything due to the fire. I can just recall that I dropped from my chair and my leg was injured, and I got a few injuries due to the ball bearings. Last year, IS said it was behind attacks against religious scholars affiliated with JUIF, which has a huge network of mosques and schools in the north and west of the country. The jihadist group accuses the JUIF of hypocrisy for being a religious party while supporting secular governments and the military. JUIF officials hit out at the government for failing to provide security in the areas where militants operate. Pakistan has seen a sharp rise in militant attacks since the Afghan Taliban surged back to power in neighboring Afghanistan in 2021. In January, a suicide bomber linked to Pakistan's Taliban blew himself up in a mosque inside a police compound in the northwestern city of Peshawar, killing more than 80 officers.
Now, in the Central African Republic, vote counting has begun for the referendum on the new constitution. Workers at a polling station in Bangui city center began counting ballots in the referendum on the draft new constitution for the country, which would allow President Faustin Archange Touadera to run for a third term in the country devastated by coups. His rivals now accuse him of wanting to remain president for life under the increasingly visible protection of the private Russian mercenary group Wagner, which was first deployed in the Central African Republic in 2018. The country of 5.5 million people in one of the world's poorest countries, some 1.9 million people were called on to cast their ballots at polls which closed at 5 p.m., an hour later than initially planned for some days in opening stations. Provisional results are not expected for 8 days, while the Constitutional Court is scheduled to publish the definitive outcome on August 27th, according to the National Electoral Authority. And finally, heavy rains battered northern China on Monday, killing at least 2 people in Beijing while washing away cars and forcing the capital to issue its highest alerts for flooding and landslides. Storm Duksuri, a former super typhoon, has swept northwards over China since Friday when it hit southern Fujian province after skiing through the Philippines. Emergency personnel recovered 2 bodies from the waterways in Beijing's Metugu district on Monday, the reporters added.
Swathes of northern China were under red alert on Monday as heavy rains hit Beijing and surrounding areas, washing away cars and inundating underground stations. Our reporters saw tree branches and dented cars left by receding floodwaters strewn on riverbanks in Mentogo on Monday afternoon. This morning, it was crazy. The water overflowed the Mentogo River and the whole avenue was flooded. Guo Zhenyu, a 49-year-old resident, told a reporter. Yellow bulldozers, workers in orange Macintoshes, and residents cleared away the mud and debris during a period of lighter rain on Monday afternoon. I am old, but I've never seen flooding like this before in my life, Mentogo resident Kim Kwan said. She showed our reporters a video on her phone shared among residents of the area of workers attempting to resuscitate an unconscious man, as well as footage of a man desperately clinging to a pole with one hand as water washed over him. The much larger and still swollen Yongding River in the same district churned up debris in brown torrents as residents looked on in shock from a bridge. Chen Hong, a resident of the southern Fengtai district, shared the footage that showed a packed van half submerged in fast-flowing brown water on Monday morning as the rain continued to fall. Residents in Chen's neighborhood cleared mud outside their homes with shovels during a brief respite from the downpour. A section of road surface in the outer Fangshan district caved under rising water, local media reported. Hundreds of bus services in the capital were suspended, according to the state news agency Xinhua, while the city government issued the highest flood warning for the suburban Dashihe River. Social media users uploaded footage of vehicles swept away by muddy torrents and thoroughfares turned into rapids on the outskirts of the city. The streets of central Beijing were quieter than usual on Monday morning as residents heeded official recommendations to work from home, with only a handful of delivery drivers braving pools of water seen in unusually packed bike lanes. China has been experiencing extreme weather and posting record temperatures this summer, events that scientists say are being exacerbated by climate change. Experts have warned that the ongoing downpour could prompt even worse flooding than in July 2012, when 79 people were killed and tens of thousands evacuated, according to local media.
And that's all the international news we had for you today. We'll be back again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you for watching and have a good afternoon.